Most buyers start their research the wrong way. They pull up a listing, they see strong cash flow, and they think, this is it. This is the one. And honestly, I get it. The numbers tell a compelling story. But here's what those numbers never tell you: whether you are actually the right person to run the business. And that gap right there is where more deals fall apart than most people realize. My name is Trent Lee. I'm the #1 business broker in the country. I've closed over 600 transactions, and I make these videos because I see what works. I see what quietly breaks deals, and I see what costs people real money after they've already signed an LOI only to have a deal fall apart. The whole point of this channel is to help you avoid the lessons that nobody should have to learn the hard way. So let me tell you what I'm seeing out there right now. Buyers are spending months chasing listings that are never going to work for them. Not because the business was bad, not because the price was wrong, but because nobody stopped early enough to ask the most important question: are you actually built to run this business? Here's the part that most people miss. Cash flow is not a qualification. It's an outcome. It tells you what the business produces. It does not tell you what the business requires. And those are two very different conversations. So let me slow down just for a second and get into the details here. A business that earns $500,000 a year in seller's discretionary earnings might also require the owner to manage a licensed technician, hold contractor relationships, navigate municipal permits, or walk onto a job site and immediately command respect from the crew. If you can't do that on day one, the earnings are not coming home with you. They're staying with the seller. I worked with a buyer a couple of years ago who was one of the sharpest people I've sat across from. 25 years in restaurant operations, he understood food costs, labor, structuring, front of the house culture, the things that most people take decades to really get in the restaurant industry. And he had locked in on a commercial construction company because the cash flow was honestly incredible. The multiple was fair, the seller was motivated. On paper, it looked like a perfect deal. But here's what I knew from the very first conversation: that business was built entirely around the seller's background. He had the contractor relationship. He held the contractor license. He had the credibility to walk onto a job site and have 25 subcontractors take direction from him and have them know that they respected him and his background. Without that, you don't have a business, you have a liability. We never made an offer. The buyer ended up purchasing a restaurant instead. I helped him understand that his background for the construction business wasn't a fit, so we didn't even go down the road of it, eventually finding out from a lender they weren't going to approve him anyway. Helping know this up front saved a lot of time, and I was able to help him find an appropriate size business in an appropriate industry and got that business closed. And here's the thing. This was, like I said, a number of years ago. He has since doubled the restaurant. It's grown. He took over the suite next door, and it's doing better than ever because he knew the industry. He knew exactly how to run that business. He knew what was wrong, and he knew what he needed to do to grow it. And that's not luck. That is a fit. Here's the framework I want you to walk away with today. I call it the 3 B's: background, buy box, and the right business. And the order matters. Background comes first, buy box comes second, and the actual listing, the actual business comes last. Most buyers have this backwards. They research first, and then they try and fit themselves into a deal later. And that's how you end up with a business that's either causing you to be overextended, overwhelmed, or underprepared. In other words, not a good fit. Background means writing it down honestly and not optimistically what you actually know, and what do you actually know how to manage, to lead, to operate from real world experience. What have you done in the past? Not what you think you could learn, not what your cousin told you about, but what have you genuinely done? What's on the resume? What kind of problems do you solve naturally? What kind of team have you led? Where do you already have credibility if someone were to look at your background? and your experience. What looks credible? What industry is credible for you? Second, buy box means identifying the industries and the business models where your background gives you an immediate and undeniable advantage. Where would employees trust you? Because you already know the industry. You can speak the lingo. You can come in and immediately know what their problems are. Where would vendors take your call seriously? Because you know how to deal with the vendors. Where would customers feel confident that you are experienced? If you can't be credible in the business from day one, that business does not belong in your buy box. Let me give you a simple math example to show you why this matters more than people think. Say you're looking at buying a business listed at $1.2 million with $200,000 in SDE. You put 10% down and you take an SBA loan on the rest. Your annual debt service is going to be around $130,000 to $140,000 roughly. This leaves you maybe $60,000 in cash flow after payments before your salary. Now, if that business requires a skilled owner to operate with no ramp-up period and you need 4 to 6 months to get up to speed, and during that time revenue dips even 10%, you just turned a livable deal into a stressful one. And stress leads to bad decisions. This is where deals break, not at closing, but 6 months after closing, when a buyer realizes they're spending 30 hours a week learning things from the seller that they already should have known. The revenue starts to dip, the employees start quitting, and the buyer starts looking back at the deal differently. Now, here's where fit actually matters. When your background matches the business and what its demands are, you walk in with energy instead of anxiety. You make good decisions faster because you understand the context. You keep the team settled because they can see that you know what you're doing. The seller transition is so much smoother because they all know that you have the right background and the right fit for the business. Customers stick around because nothing feels different from the outside. Sometimes they can't even tell the business has changed ownership. This is the version of what works. On the flip side, the version that fails is when the buyer falls in love with an income and ignored the daily reality of the actual industry they're looking at buying. I've seen it more times than I would like to count. So let me speak to both groups for just a moment. If you are newer to buying a business, this framework is your foundation. Don't rush it. Spend the time getting clear on your background before you even open a listing site. If you're experienced and you have made a few purchases, acquisitions in the past, the question for you is whether you're applying this framework to every deal or only the ones that feel uncomfortable. Sometimes the most dangerous deals are the ones that feel the most exciting. The numbers seduce you before the reality catches up. Here's the deal filter I want to leave with you. Before you move forward on any listing, ask yourself this one question. If the seller walked out tomorrow and never came back, could I run this business at 80% of its current performance within 60 days? If the honest answer is no, you either need a longer transition period, a stronger general manager already in place, or a different listing. The question will save you more than money and financial ruin if you get this wrong. A profitable business in the wrong hands is not an opportunity, it's just an expensive lesson. And the best acquisitions you will ever make is the one you actually have the right background because you're the obvious choice. Where the seller feels good about handing it over because you're the right buyer, not just someone with hoping to get an SBA loan approved. If this kind of thinking resonates with you, I have a free school community with over 30 hours of step-by-step video education covering exactly how to find, analyze, and buy a small business the right way. It's completely free. The link's in the description, so come in, look around, and just remember, background, buy box, and the right business. Nail those three before you ever pick up a phone and talk to the broker. The order matters. You'll thank me later once you find the right business because you're the right buyer, given your background.